Hello and welcome to JAL Project Management. In our previous video, we discussed what a project is and what a project is not. We also talked about some of the characteristics of a project. If you missed that video, please go back and watch it before continuing with this one because it is critical to understand the definition of a project and to differentiate a project from processes. Today, we are going to discuss project life cycle. But first, here are the objectives. After completing this second part of the series, you will be able to explain the purposes of a project life cycle, the 5 phases of a project life cycle. Let's look into this in detail. The project life cycle is a structured framework that guides a project from its inception to its completion, which comprises the phases from initiation to closure. As we discussed in our previous video on the definition of a project, one of its key characteristics is having a defined start date and end date. Understanding this cycle is essential for ensuring a successful project delivery. The project life cycle consists of 5 key phases: initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and control, and closure. Each phase has distinct purposes and activities that collectively ensures the project meets its objectives. To put this into perspective, consider the analogy of raising a child, which can be viewed as a project. As someone once said, every child is a 21-year-long project if you are fortunate enough as a parent. Sometimes it can take even longer. This journey is divided into phases. A baby is held to different standards than a child to a different standard than an adolescent, and an adolescent to a different standard than an adult. Each of these phases, the child is expected to behave differently, and it is the parent's responsibility to manage their time effectively. Time for play, time for TV, time for studies, and so on. Now, let's delve into the details of these phases. The initiation phase is the first phase of a project. The initiation phase is where the project begins. The primary purposes of this phase is to define the project at a high level and obtain approval to proceed. During initiation, project goals and objectives are identified, and a feasibility study is conducted to assess whether the project is viable and worth pursuing. Stakeholders who have an interest or influence in the project are identified, and a project charter is created to formally authorize the project. We will talk about project charter in future video. So this phase also involves identifying initial risk and assumptions that could impact the project. The next phase is planning. Once the project is initiated, it moves into planning phase. This phase is crucial as it involves developing a detailed roadmap for how the project will be executed, monitored, and controlled. Some of the major activities in this phase include defining the project scope, creating a work breakdown structure, otherwise known as WBS, to break down the project into manageable tasks, and developing a detailed schedule and timeline. Resource planning is conducted to determine what resources are needed, and responsibilities are assigned. Cost estimation and budgeting are critical in this phase, as is developing a risk management plan to identify and mitigate potential risk. We will have a special video on risk management in the future. Additionally, a communication plan is created to ensure effective information flow, and a quality plan is established to define the criteria and procedures for ensuring deliverables meet the required standards, because quality control is an ongoing thing during the life of the project. The next phase is the execution phase. The execution phase is where the project plan is put into action and the work defined in the plan is completed. Major activities in this phase include assembling and managing the project team. Again, we will have a video on team formation and development in the future. Secondly, assigning tasks and ensuring that team members have the necessary resources. Regular status meetings are held to monitor progress and address any issue that arise. Communication with stakeholders is maintained to keep them informed of the project status and changes. We will also have a separate video on stakeholders management. Let's continue. Quality assurance is performed to ensure that deliverables meet the required standard, and issue management involves identifying and resolving any problems that occur. Managing changes to the project scope, schedule, or resources is also a critical activity in this phase. The next phase is monitoring and control. During the monitoring and control phase, the project focus is on tracking and reviewing the project's performance. Performance is measured using key performance indicators, otherwise known as KPIs, to ensure the project is on track. Variance analysis is conducted. We have different tools and techniques used for this to compare plan versus actual performance and identify any deviation. Risks are continuously monitored and new risks are managed as they arise. Quality control ensures that project deliverables meet the required standards. Change control processes are in place to evaluate and manage any changes to the project. Any changes to the project plan. This is when CRs are raised by the project manager for any changes that could potentially affect the scope, budget, or schedule of the project. Regular status reports are provided to stakeholders to keep them informed of the project's progress. The final phase of the project life cycle is closure. This phase formally closes the project and ensures all aspects of the project are completed and documented. Key activities include ensuring the completion of final deliverables and obtaining formal acceptance from the client or stakeholders. All project documentation is completed, including lessons learned. Project resources are released for other work, and a post-project review is conducted to evaluate the project's success and identify any lessons for future projects. It is also important to acknowledge and celebrate the team's effort and accomplishment. I hope you found this short video helpful. If you did, please subscribe to our channel, like and share. In our next video, we will explore the iron triangle of project management, also known as the 3 project constraints. See you next time.